All right, all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. This is Martin Ruof, and I want to welcome you to the very first um, episode of the Martin Ruoff podcast. And I'm super, super grateful for everyone jumping on here right now. Very excited about this. And where do I begin? So, first, we got some people jumping on here. Very good, very good, very good. All right, just want to welcome people first and foremost. Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, all right. Well, first and foremost, um, uh, super excited to be here. And, um, you know, I just wanted to share right out of the gate because a couple people have asked, well, like, why are you doing this? And, what is all this about? And there's definitely been, excitement around this. And I'm excited to do it. A little nervous, to be honest with you. I've done podcasts before, but I've always done podcasts for other people. I've never just done, like my own podcast. And so here's the deal. I'm just going to say it this way. I've been avoiding this. Okay. I have been avoiding this like the plague. And I've been avoiding it for a couple of reasons, but I've been avoiding this like distracting myself in every conceivable way. And let me make sure. Somebody just asked me something. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. That's better. There we go. That's better. All right. Thank you. So I've been avoiding this, and I've been avoiding this in lots of different ways. I've been distracting myself. I've mowed the lawn. I've cleaned the office about 50 times. I've made the bed, remade the bed. I've cleaned the house. I've cleaned the car. I've watched television. I've fallen asleep. Like, I've been avoiding this, and it's really, really interesting because I've had people telling me to do this, asking me to do this, encouraging me to do this for a long time. And I mean, literally like a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I just never really felt the straight up, just kind of like the confidence to do it. That's the God's honest truth. And it wasn't until, frankly, the pain got great enough that I took action. All my sales friends out there that are watching, know that people do things for one of two reasons. They either do it, out of, hope for gain or the fear of loss. And the hope for gain is not as great as the fear of loss. And I've had some of my closest friends encouraging me and rooting me on, and I've had business associates doing the same thing. Even my wife has been probably the biggest advocate for me doing this. And it got to the point where she wanted to punch me in the face or run over me. Like, literally, she wanted to run over me in the driveway, then back over me again, and then run over me, I'm like, just do it. And here's what actually got me to move with this. What got me to move? The pain. And it was the pain of not doing it. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this podcast in a moment, but I just wanted to share the avoidance of it first. And there's a reason for that. But it was the pain just got so great that I had to do it. I was compelled to take action. And if you've ever heard this story about there's a guy sitting on a porch, and his neighbor hears this howling. He keeps looking out, and all he sees is the guy sitting on the porch drinking an iced tea and smoking a cigarette. And he walks over because he's hearing this howling, and he walks over to his friend's neighbor's house, and he's like, "What's the howling?" And he looks down and he sees this dog sitting on the porch next to him, and the dog is just howling. And so he asks his friend that's sitting on the porch, "Why is your dog howling?" And he goes, "Well, he's sitting on a nail." And he's like, "Well, what? Why doesn't he get off the nail? He's obviously in a lot of pain." And the guy sitting down says, well, yeah, he's in pain, but it doesn't hurt enough for him to get up and do something about it. That's it right there. The pain just wasn't great enough until the pain became great enough. And I was like, okay, I gotta freaking do something. I gotta do this. So here's the deal. The reason for this podcast, the purpose of this podcast is to, if I were to sum it up in one word, it's liberty. It's to liberate people, because we all know that there's been a tremendous amount of breakdown, a tremendous amount of pain, a tremendous amount of disruption over the last several years. Certainly the pandemic, I think, was really the biggest cause of it. It was the biggest instigator of it and for it. And I look around and there is so much breakdown that's occurring. There's so many people in so much pain, so much frustration, so much anger, so much disconnection. And people are looking, they're not just looking for hope, because frankly, they're running out of hope. It's not really hope they're looking for, it's a solution. It's an exit. It's the exit sign. It's an exit strategy. They're looking for a way to create the life that they want to live. But even before that, they're just looking for a way out of this pain. And the reality is that the only way out of the pain is to go through the pain. It's to deal with what is messing you up. That's the reality. And so I wanted to call this, podcast The Breakdown. And then I was thinking, oh, it's the breakthrough. And then I just realized, well, a good friend of mine, Darren Walker, said, just call it the Martin Ruof podcast and keep it simple. So that's the name of the podcast. But what the podcast is about is it's moving. I don't want to say it's exploring the breakdown, but it's acknowledging the breakdown and searching for the breakthrough. It's acknowledging the breakdown while creating and stepping into the breakthrough, because everybody wants to break free. If you are in pain, you want to break free. And so really what I say this is about, it's breaking free of the ties that bind you. And I don't know what's binding you today. Maybe it's financial, the financial binds. Maybe it's emotional binds. Maybe it's mental binds. Maybe it's physical. Maybe you're not where you want to be physically in your life. You're not living the life you want to live. You're not living the life how you want to live your life. So you're bound. And the question is, what's actually binding you? Because the reality is that what's binding most people is a lie. What do I mean by that? Well, what's binding you, there's the saying, like, it's the ties that bind you. It's really not the ties that bind you. It's the lies that bind you. For my own self, okay. And by the way, I should have addressed who I am and kind of, how I got here. But I've been tied down by lies for a long time. And my background is I worked in the restaurant industry for 20 years in literally every capacity. I've done everything there is to do in a restaurant outside of actually owning a restaurant or being a head chef. But I was a short order cook, I was a line cook. I mean, I've done it all: bartender, barback, manager, GM, blah blah blah. I've done it all. Well, I wound up getting involved about 22 years ago in a business. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles. And that business, again, I found that business because I was in so much pain doing what I was doing, waiting tables. I was in so much pain not living the life that I really, truly wanted to live, that I finally I was like, I've got to do something else. And so again, the pain got great enough, and I went out and I searched for something else to do. And specifically, I searched for ways to be able to make more money. And I found a business that profoundly changed my life. And I found the business through meeting other people. A couple of people that were friends of mine that became friends of mine that introduced me to this. And that business exploded my life in literally every aspect. I wound up traveling around the world. I wound up being able to leave the restaurant industry within, I think it was 6 months. of engaging in that business, I wound up building a tremendous, an eight figure income. Changed my living circumstances, moved out of a little one room apartment in Venice Beach into a into a house, in the Hollywood Hills that used to be owned by a major celebrity, Tina Turner. It was just like everything just totally shifted. But I got to say, the most important aspects of what changed, of how my life changed, was I wound up I wound up being able to speak in front of major audiences, literally, audiences of, two people to 200 to 2000 to over 20,000 people in stadiums and arenas all around the world. I did this for 15 years, and I was teaching people how to change their lives like I changed my life. I was teaching people, yes, about a business, but also more about personal development, about how to be the change that you wish to see in your world, and to be the change you wish to see in the world. And that particular path is what I would say really truly lit my life on fire. And of the six, basic human needs, and if you don't know the six basic human needs, you've got certainty, variety, or uncertainty. You've got significance, connection or love, growth, like personal growth, and then you have contribution. Literally, that what I was engaging in on a day-to-day basis triggered all of those six basic human needs. But I think the biggest two were growth and contribution. And I would say also love, because I loved what I was doing. And you know, I did it for so long that I think I actually began to take it for granted. But what's interesting is this: when that came to an end, and what came to an end was the pandemic just annihilated that business. And when that came to an end, I found myself in a point where I was just like lost. And a lot of my identity was wrapped up in that. And because my identity was so wrapped up in what I was doing, and because the basic needs were being met doing what I was doing, when I went from all of that to literally, like, practically overnight, none of that, um, I was thrown into like major disarray. In fact, I actually went into, really, honest to God, like, I went into a bit of a depression around it. And um, I wound up searching for something else to do, and I just really couldn't find that thing. And this is when my friends and my family, people just started telling me, like, you ought to do a podcast. You should do a podcast. This is what you're already doing it. Just go out and do it. And I just wasn't able, because I was in such a state of breakdown that all I could focus on was the loss. And, the purpose of this, again, is to help people, is to help liberate people. In order to get to that place, though, where I could help liberate others, hopefully liberate others, I had to liberate myself first. And that, no joke, was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Truly, one of the hardest things, most difficult, challenging things I've ever done in my life. There was one thing I've done that was far more challenging, but this is, I would say, the second most challenging thing I've ever experienced in my life. Was that breakdown, and coming out of that breakdown, where I could eventually break free of the ties that were binding me, of the lies that were binding me, of the negative stories that were binding me, because I felt like a failure. So I don't know for those of you watching this, I don't know what your story is, but I do know this. Again, there's a lot of people that have been experiencing tremendous breakdown. And these people, they you can see it on social media. You see it on the news. I see it my God, I see it as I'm taking walks, you know, near our home, and just driving around. I'm in restaurants and I'm just communicating with people. I see it all the time. There's so much pain that's going on. There's so much breakdown. And so people want freedom, and people ultimately want liberty. They want to liberate. And so I was really thinking about, oh, and by the way, I would share this also. The point is, and I have someone whom I trust a lot said to me, um, talking about loss and talking about gain, and help me understand that it's not really about, it's not, the point isn't to talk about the loss, because we can all do that. We can all talk about loss, but all that does, when all you do is focus on your loss, and when all you do is talk about your loss, all that perpetuates is what? More loss. What you focus on expands. What you speak about expands. So it's not about focusing on the loss or even talking about the loss. It's about the wisdom that's gained from the loss. And every wisdom has its price. And so if you've been paying a price, you have something to offer people. You have value that you can give in the form of wisdom. And there are people that need your wisdom. If you hold on to that, I dare say that's incredibly selfish. And I understand why you might hold on to it, because you may fear giving it away. You may fear sharing it. You may have what I was experiencing, which was what is it called? A imposter syndrome. People would say to me, you got to share, you got to share, you got to share. And I'd be in my mind and be like, yeah, well, outwardly I was like, yeah, absolutely. I got to share. Of course, I'm going to. Distraction, avoiding. Because in my mind, I was literally saying to myself, thinking to myself, who wants to hear what I've got to say? Who's going to want to hear, I've experienced so much loss. Who's going to want to hear that? And I was still in the loss, right? In that loss mode. So if you're in that loss mode, I get it. And the best thing I can say is to get out of loss. And there's a few steps that I would share to get out of loss, but one of them, and this is more of an advanced one, is to find people that have what you want and are living the life you desire inwardly and outwardly, and emulate them. Find a mentor, find a coach, find a community. Most importantly, a community. The buzzword, the sort of cliche word now, the hot word is tribe. Find your tribe. That's fine. Find your tribe, but find a community of people that are not just going through what you're going through, but they're coming out, where they've gone through what you're going through. Who you surround yourself with is paramount to your recovery. Who you surround yourself with is paramount to your thriving, to your success. And I wound up surrounding myself with really great people whom I trust implicitly, that helped me tremendously. And so I talk about the purpose of this podcast is to help liberate people, and it's to go from captivity to liberation. And if you think about the word liberty, at its core, the simplest definition of liberty is freedom. And it's living the life of freedom. Now, there is another definition for freedom. And by the way, liberty, I'm not talking about the political sense of the term or the political connotations of that word. If you look at I think it's the Declaration of Independence, it's the pursuit of it. No, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it even states in the Declaration of Independence, and again, this is not a political suggestion at all. It even suggests in the Declaration of Independence that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are your unalienable rights. They are your unalienable rights. And unalienable, look up that word if you don't know what that actually means. It's, you can say unalienable or inalienable. It's the same thing. What it actually means, it's your God-given right as a human freaking being. These are your rights to life and to liberty and the pursuit of mediocrity. No, it's not the pursuit of mediocrity. It's not life, liberty, and the pursuit of just getting by. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of, oh, well, I guess I just got to live in fear and doubt and worry. No, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So yes, it's in the Declaration of Independence, written by the founding fathers of the United States of America. Yes, but let's take it away from that moment. Let's take it away from that connotation and let's put it into you singularly. It is your God-given, God endowed you with this pursuit, this drive of life and liberty and the pursuit of your personal greatness. So if you feel that calling, it's no wonder. It's because God gave it to you. So what are you doing with it? What is your own personal declaration of independence? How true are you to your own personal declaration of independence? Do you even acknowledge it? Do you even think about it? Because if you're so focused on loss and lack and limitation and struggle and strife and what you don't have, then you're not focused on your declaration of independence. You're focused on a declaration of codependence. You're focused on a declaration of what is it? Subversity, of being of submission, of being subversive to lies, to things that are not, that simply to a way of life that does not need to be. And yes, the Declaration of Independence was written by the founding fathers of America, but this is all around the world. Doesn't matter where you live. Everyone, most everyone of the 8+ billion people that live on planet Earth are thirsting for something greater than what they currently have. They're thirsting for a life of love. They're thirsting for a life of certainty. They're thirsting for a life of uncertainty. And uncertainty simply means variety. Variety is the spice of life. They're thirsting for that. They're thirsting for love and connection. They're thirsting for a way to grow and develop personally. And God, most people, hopefully, are thirsting for a way to contribute all of that. So if you're focusing on your loss, like I was, and all I was saying was, well, and thinking to myself, who's going to want to hear from me? Well, who's really going to want to hear what I have to say? God, I hear myself saying it out loud, and it's like, it's so freaking selfish. It's such a self-focused, inwardly focused, selfish attitude, because it isn't about, how do I say this? It isn't about me saying something. It's about me contributing something. So it isn't about you saying something. It's about you contributing to someone that needs to hear it. And I am telling you right now, look on social media alone, just that much alone. Talk to friends, like really talk to friends, and you'll see, watch the news, you'll see people are thirsting for something of that you can contribute of value to them that helps improve their lives. So at the core of what the Martin Ruof podcast is all about, it's about contributing something of value and helping you engage in a journey of personal development, like real freaking personal development, not just stuff you're gonna read out of a book that you can quote. I'm not talking about that. That's fine. Anybody can quote something out of a book. I'm talking about originality. I'm talking about you developing your own quotes. Yes, yes, yes. Learn from others' quotes. Be inspired by others' quotes, but my God, create your own. Develop yourself personally so you can contribute the absolute magnificent freaking badass that you are. There is something that only you can contribute, no one else. What you contribute may smell a little bit like what somebody else may look, feel, sound, taste, smell a little bit like what someone else is contributing, but no one can contribute it in the way only you can. So if you want more money, if you want, it's not just more money, my God, if you want freedom, like true financial freedom, yeah, sure, go out and find a vehicle that's going to help you create more income. Absolutely. If you want to, if you want to look better physically, if you want that, the muscle bound body, or just you want great health, sure. There's things that you can go out and go to the gym. Yes, buy healthier foods, all of that. If you want a better relationship with your significant other or your spouse, absolutely, you can work on that. Sure, you can work on the surface of all of those things and a few layers deep. But the reality is, if you don't change this, if you don't change your beliefs, if your beliefs are not in alignment with the goals that you have, forget it. It ain't gonna freaking happen. You will sabotage it 100%. Trust me, I know. I speak from abject experience. I used to work in a restaurant, and I promise you, I worked in one of the nicest restaurants in Los Angeles, frankly, one of the nicest restaurants in the United States. And for a long time, before I got that job, I didn't believe I was worthy of working in a place like that. Straight up. And then one day, my belief level rose and I wound up getting hired at this freaking badass restaurant where I was waiting on millionaires. Yeah, like duh, all the time. I was waiting on billionaires, waiting on celebrities like huge Spielberg, Denzel Washington. I mean, you freaking name it. They've all been in, all of them. The Rock, Tom Brady, like the list goes on and on and on. All the time these people came in, all the time. And then one day I started getting so freaking pissed off and frustrated with my life because I was like, I'm sick and tired of doing what I was doing. If you're sick and tired of doing what you're doing, good. That is a wake-up call. That is God, the universe, saying to you, there's more. So if you're frustrated, good. I got so frustrated that I was like, I can't take this anymore. And I almost sabotaged it. Because part of the frustration, part of changing and creating the life you want is you go through various phases. And the frustration phase and the resentment phase is an important one. The frustration phase is healthy. The resentment phase is destructive. As I've said, as you've heard before, resentment is when you drink poison but wait for the other person to die, right? It's not about blaming other people. It's not about changing other people. If you're frustrated with your job and you think, okay, the way to change it is just go get another job, that's not necessarily it. If you try to take it out on your boss and you try to change your boss or you try to change your work environment, that's not it either. The key to me leaving that restaurant and creating and having another opportunity that had been created and stepping into that co-creation of a greater life that created massive amounts of income for me, millions and millions and millions of dollars. It was this. It was finally believing that I could do it. So the frustration got me so pissed off that I got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to change. There must be something more. And I sought out something greater, found it, and stepped into it. And so part of the process of changing your life, and I'll dive into this in depth, in other podcasts, but part of it is, first, you've got to identify what the hell's wrong. Because chances are It's not just your job. It's not just your weight. It's not the relationship that isn't working for you where you or it's you're not working for it or whatever. That's that's the surface. It's about what's underneath. So it's identifying the problem, the true problem. And then here's the kicker. It's accepting it. That's the piece that people don't really want to deal with. There's a great saying, acceptance is the key to all my problems. Accepting that I've got the problem. And here's the key. It's accepting that the problem isn't just outside myself, but the problem could be myself. It could be you, your belief level. What are you settling for? What are you allowing to occur? You teach people how to treat you. So identifying it, accepting it, and then it's doing something about it. And it's not just leaving the job and doing a lateral change and getting something else or going out and getting a job that maybe pays you a bit more. It's not just that. It's really about doing the work on you, on this, on your beliefs to change your life so that that is when the opportunity meets you because you've been preparing yourself for the opportunities that are out there. They're circling around all the time. There's not hundreds, there's not thousands, there's millions, and some could even say billions of opportunities out there. But you have to be ready for it. Otherwise, you can't see it when it's passing by. Opportunity doesn't freaking knock. Yeah, sometimes it does. But as the saying goes, opportunity whispers. But there's a great thing about opportunity is that it's not always visible to the naked eye. It's not always visible to the person that's unable to see it because they're living a life of complete lack and limitation and frustration and anger and resentment. And that's all they're seeing. Trust me, I know. So I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. I'm going to continue to do this. And the goal is to add as much value as possible and to share my story as a way of, as my mentor taught me, we share our stories so you can change yours. So it's to add value and it's ultimately to help you live the life you truly, truly desire. And I'm going to tell you this, if you're frustrated, good. If you're pissed off, good. Now do something about it. Do the work. And I will say this, if you are in a period of tremendous crisis, meaning you're in financial crisis, or you are in spiritual, mental, emotional crisis, if you are experiencing tremendous breakdown, listen and hear this. There's a great saying. I don't know who said it. It might have been Winston Churchill. It could have been Machiavelli. It was somebody said, never let a good crisis go to waste. The crisis is the breakdown. Not letting it go to waste is the opportunity. Surround yourself with people. If you're in serious crisis, surround yourself with people. Find a mentor, find a community, find a coach, find someone that you can talk to, people you can connect with that will help hear you and hear the loss, hear the struggle, hear the frustration, and help you pivot to solution, help you pivot to opportunity, help you redirect your thinking and your communication, your language, so that you move into solution. And solution is opportunity. It's about doing the work on yourself. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is really about. So I'm going to finish by saying this, I'm not going to do this perfectly. I'm going to learn as I go. I'm going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes already tonight, and you know what? It's fine. This is about finding the people. This is about communicating to the people that are looking for what I have to say and for what more to the point, what I have to contribute. and what can be shared. And I'll say this, some of you, some of my very, very, very close friends, this is a very small group of people that I've let in, know how much struggle I was going through in the last 4 years. And to those people, I just want to say thank you and God bless you. And I wouldn't be here without you. And I hope that if anyone's going through struggle, you have the very good fortune of having friends like I have, in a community like I have, and a family like I have. I wish that for you. And if you just don't think you have that, then come back here. Come back here, because that's what this community, that however big or small or whatever size, is irrelevant. That's what this community is about. And I guarantee you this community will grow. This community will continue to grow and to thrive and to continue to contribute and to continue to love and support and help you reach not just the goals you want, but help you live the life I believe you are destined to live. So, with that said, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on here. More episodes to come soon. And yeah, we're doing this every week. And by the way, this is on Wednesday night, May 8th, I believe it is. These are actually going to move to Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. That's when I'll be doing these every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And I'll continue to post on social media and share this with everyone and get the word out there. Okay. And normally I'll probably start bringing this in under 30 minutes. This went a little bit long, but I do hope you got value out of this. So with that said, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on here, watching, and let's live a life of total liberty. All right. Take care.